In my most recent video, I expressed how excited I was to see hundreds of Pokemon trainers running around the city trying to catch Pokemon, chasing down rare spawns. It actually shows that Pokemon Go is more real than anyone could have ever imagined, that there are people out there going on regular Pokemon adventures and even chasing after the rare and exclusive Pokemon like Dragonite. And it's absolutely beautiful and amazing to see. However, people in the comments section disagree. Now, to be fair, it's not all of them. It's not most of them. That it's a very small amount of people that are saying these things, but I think it still needs to be addressed because I'm seeing posts all over the place. My Twitter, my Facebook, all it is memes and people just shitting on people that are trying to enjoy Pokemon Go, saying they're not real Pokemon fans, that only real Pokemon fans would know this, or Pokemon Go fans are just bandwagoning along for the ride. And I think that that is absolutely about as disrespectful as it gets. I'll personally have a harder time calling someone saying this a Pokemon fan as opposed to a Pokemon Go player that hasn't experienced Pokemon before. Now, I'll admit, these are kind of funny, but it's all how you interpret it. If you take these seriously and you're like, heh, yeah, all these non-Pokemon fans, oh my goodness, if only they knew. But I kind of, like, these are made to be jokes, and thus they can be received as humor, as long as you don't take it seriously. That's the point I'm trying to stress here. But there are far too many comments and responses and people that are just like, yep, isn't this true? Oh my goodness, all these non-Pokemon fans just trying to get in our thing. And this comment thread is actually what really got me, because it's not like, oh yeah, just a couple people, but a lot of the responses to this are, they make me sick to my stomach just seeing this. So, one of the responses, they aren't Pokemon fans. They're just with the trend. And then someone says, thank you, Pokemon fans my ass, bunch of sheep, this is modern day Beanie Babies, I can't wait until it dies. That is absolutely mind-blowing. You're wanting this huge phenomenon that is making Pokemon as popular as it was in 1999 once again to die just to get all these fakes out, and you don't even know how many they are. This one guy says, true, about 3% of that crowd is true Pokemon fans. No, I'm pretty sure it'd be a large amount, because a person that's just playing this game to not be interested in Pokemon wouldn't go out into the streets of New York at 11 p.m. and chase down a Pokemon for several blocks. Just do something like that. It shows they're dedicated to this game. It shows that they understand the value of Pokemon. And finally, Pedro steps in. This is the hero right here. That's some childish way to view things. And then the original commenter comes in. I don't care. Before Pokemon, everyone made fun of real Pokemon fans, but this year they're playing Pokemon Go when they're not even real Pokemon fans. So instead of agreeing with the person that has sense here, saying that this is a childish way to view things, because it is, outcasting people from Pokemon for wanting to get into Pokemon is about as ridiculous and childish as it gets. And the person saying, oh, they're not real Pokemon fans, like, I don't understand this mentality that Juan has, honestly. That he's thinking because we've been put down as Pokemon fans this entire time that we're in control now. That it's our turn to determine who's a real Pokemon fan and who gets to belong after we've been taken down for so many years. Well, I've never really felt that. I've always played Pokemon at my leisure in front of whoever I want, and I never felt different because of it. It's a hobby. It's a game. People can respect that. And for the most part, anyone I talked to before Pokemon Go, they'd be like, yeah, I played that back in the day. Kind of grew out of it, but, you know, it's kind of silly now, but I still appreciate it. Like, the people that put you down for playing Pokemon, those are just assholes. They're gonna be assholes no matter what. Pokemon doesn't even matter, and those are not the kind of people that'll be like, oh, I guess I'll play Pokemon now. No, there's so many different kinds of people being involved here that it's not even being represented at all. And then the comments keep going on. So someone agrees with Juan. So some Goku, the guy that said 3%, then actually it isn't. What? This guy says it's not childish to say these things because most people don't watch or don't play any Pokemon games. I had all the Pokemon games except for the last one, which was because my 3DS broke. You shouldn't be elitist about this fandom that is accessible to everyone at all times. That Pokemon, like, here's how I feel about it. Because what if someone's just a straight up new fan to Pokemon, that they just got the game and they just got Pokemon Go, so they still don't know anything about it? Or what if they're a newer fan? That Pokemon Go at this time is from the first generation, and you can't really take anyone that started in generation 2, 3, 4, 5, or even this year. Like, Pokemon X and Y and Pokemon Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire have sold more copies than any other Pokemon game except for, like, the first generation. So in recent years, there's going to be millions of new Pokemon players that are more experienced with the 6th generation, how that works. They might not have encountered all the 1st generation Pokemon. They might forget it sometimes, which is why I don't understand all those jokes of people that are like, bet you don't know this Pokemon, or I've seen a lot of posts where it's like, someone told me about the yellow bird, so I want to join the yellow bird team without calling it Zapdos or without having an association. I think that's where I see the biggest thing. When they're talking about like Team Valor, Mystic, or Instinct, they're talking about those as like the actual Pokemon, but they don't know what those actual Pokemon are. And I don't understand why that is a point to fault someone. That when you're getting into any fandom, when you're getting into any new subculture, you're not going to understand it, even though you want to be a fan of it. Like, I think anime is a really good one. Like, if you get into a new series of anime, it's going to be hard to remember all the characters and what they do, or especially if you're starting at the first part of the series when there are already several hundred episodes or chapters in, you know, you're going to be behind. That's no reason to take someone down. We need to be encouraging new Pokemon players. We need to be strengthening and growing our community, not making these people feel outcasted, because yeah, then they're not going to want to become fans, because this community is just full of a bunch of assholes. And that's all that my time on my YouTube has taught me, is that there are way too many jerks in the Pokemon community, ready to just put anyone down over anything, and the spirit of Pokemon, I feel, has truly been lost, which is the main thing about my channel. That every decision, every video, everything I do on my channel is about enforcing the spirit of Pokemon, about keeping all these fans alive, about keeping this community as strong as possible. But there's a lot that just shows why it's not that way. And then we have someone, agreed, real Pokemon fans play the real games and have been with the franchise for years and years. So that means anyone that picked up the game in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, anyone that picked up in X and Y, they're not real fans. Someone that dropped off in the 1st generation is now getting back because they rekindled their love of Pokemon. They're not fans to you. Then, you know, we are the 1%. Why are you getting elitist over Pokemon? Seriously. And then there's another comment, most are Gen 1ers and bandwagoners. How is that a bad thing? Why are people using the term Gen 1er as an insult? How is Gen 1er an insult? That means they like Pokemon. That means they're an old Pokemon fan. Sure, they don't like the new thing, but that doesn't exclude them from being a fan of Pokemon. Even the people that say, like, yeah, I only like the first couple of generations. I've actually found it very difficult to find a real Gen 1er, that if you talk to anyone that you think is a Gen 1er, you could eventually fish out of them or find out that, yeah, they like a Pokemon from 2nd generation. They like some of the new designs. They like some of the new things. They just aren't as big of a fan. And that doesn't make them a Gen 1er. That just means they're still a Pokemon fan, but they grew out of it just a little, or they don't find it as entertaining as they did back then. And that's not a bad thing. You know, sometimes it gets hard when you try to keep up with life and stuff. You lose time for games. You have to focus on your job, your work, your family. And I see a lot of people, they have kids, and then they're able to get back into Pokemon because Pokemon's been around for 20 years. It's at the point where a lot of people are bringing up their kids on Pokemon and then getting back into it themselves. And that's a big thing about Pokemon Go. And I don't understand the problem about being a bandwagoner. And not just because it's popular. Pokemon Go isn't something that you're just like, oh man, I need to make friends, so Pokemon, yeah, that Pokemans, you know, the Pokemons, yeah, that's such a cool Pokemon game. No, Pokemon Go is such a magical game that people are playing it because they want to play it. They want to enjoy Pokemon, so if you start as a bandwagoner, you're going to become a fan, and that's why you don't call them a bandwagoner. People are getting interested in this because it's the next big thing, and then they're becoming fans because of it. That's why I cannot understand anything like this at all. And then even more posts. So, you know, that moment that had every 90s kid crying. Only real Pokemon fans know the feel. So now they're making being a Pokemon fan age specific, which doesn't make a lot of sense because, okay, what if you were born the year this movie came out and you didn't become a Pokemon fan until recently or something like that? That doesn't make you a Pokemon fan? How do people agree and get on top of this logic right here? Because no, Pokemon fan is for everyone. Pokemon is a kid's game. That means most of the people that are playing Pokemon for the first time, they're like even as young as 6 years old or as old as like 10 or 11 or something like that. That means Pokemon is making the fans it wants to make to a degree, but no, people have to, like, and what it gets me is, like, the people that like these comments, you know? We're seeing dozens of people, and I found other comments on my videos that had, like, hundreds of likes, and I ended up just banning those people. Like, if you're gonna be that elitist and that toxic to the community, I don't care, your comment's getting removed, because it's absolutely disgusting that you think you're better than someone because you're playing Pokemon Go and a Pokemon game and not just Pokemon Go. And this guy right here, you know, lol, most people who are playing the game ain't even Pokemon fans, they're just following the trend. Such a dumb, ignorant thing to say. And then the response is, indeed, one of my colleagues said, I can see a King Krabby on my screen, and the response was, mate, no. Okay, it's called a Kingler, not a King Krabby. But I mean, that's close enough. It's called Kingler. I stumble on Pokemon names from time to time because there's over 700 of them. Does that make me not a true Pokemon fan? Again, it could just be a newer Pokemon player that hasn't really had time to memorize all of them. It's like, hey, can you name all 151 Pokemon? There's actually that little typing challenge, and it turned out, no, most people can't. A large majority of people can't name all 151 Pokemon off the top of their head because there's so many of them. So that doesn't make you a non-true Pokemon fan, right? But that's what all these people like to believe, and that's why I don't understand. So that's why I go back to this. This was another one of those, oh man, only true Pokemon fans that would understand this. Comment something a true Pokemon fan will never say. Man, I could just go and show all of these comments, can't I? Because, no, a true Pokemon fan values the spirit of Pokemon. They value how important this is and that they would want people to be welcomed into the community and not joked about because they're trying to understand Pokemon at this time now that it's really popular. The same thing happened in the 90s, the early 2000s, like 1999, 2000, when Pokemon was the huge global phenomenon taking over the world. You know, there were those people that were in it before, but we welcomed the new fans. All the parents that were getting involved, they're like, oh, I heard about this, but apparently my kids, it's going to be a good thing if I get them into this Pokemon because it's the new trend. That everything starts as a trend, and you can't be all elitist about it, or else it's not going to get big. If you keep everyone out of your community, there's going to be no community to grow. That's actually killed a lot of gaming communities and a lot of other subcultures. So, hey, let's try to make Pokemon as big as possible. That way, all these people will be like, wow, Pokemon's amazing. I'm going to buy Pokemon Sun and Moon. Because I've been talking with a lot of people that, like, it's gotten to the point where, yeah, almost everyone's playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, and then I'll be like, hey, you getting Sun and Moon? They'll be like, yeah, I heard about that. It sounds like a cool game, and they really just rediscovered Pokemon through Pokemon Go, and now they're keeping up on the news. Now they're actually finding out, wow, there's new Pokemon coming out. There's a new game. Wow, there's been 7 generations, because they just don't keep up with it that often. And you can tell when all these other new games are coming out, all these other fandoms and stuff, Pokemon kind of got brushed aside, and it did stay with a very strong community still. I mean, over 10 million sales in the most recent game, and it definitely has room to grow. So I'm thinking that's what we need to do, guys. If you see someone making these comments, call them out for their crap. If you see a post on your Facebook and you see it's a friend that's like trying to put down other fans, tell them that's wrong. Tell them that that's not what Pokemon fans do. That's not how we're supposed to be doing this. So hope you guys enjoy the video. Something that's been bugging me since Pokemon Go came out. It's not just my comment section. It's not just these Facebook posts. It's all over the place, and it's very upsetting to see. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, just welcome everyone to our wonderful community.